Man, how lucky are we to get to start our college football Saturday with one of the best games of the entire weekend. Number 17 Texas Tech, number 16 Utah in Salt Lake City, a battle between two undefeated teams, both legitimate Big 12 title contenders, both legitimate college football playoff contenders. This game has some massive stakes. And it's going to be an awesome battle. The battle of Texas Tech's high-octane offense against Utah's new-look offense and stingy defense. We're going to break down everything you need to know about this game and share our official prediction right here on the Gridiron Expert. So welcome back, guys. We're so glad you could join us. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, which is home, of course, to our expert picks, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. Fresh off another 60% week in the NFL, hitting over 58% overall in our expert picks. You do not want to miss out on these guys. You will win big with us. One of the lowest prices in the country, some of the most accurate picks in the country. You get them for a whole year. So go sign up, take advantage of them, win big with us, and become a member of our GE Nation today. So let's do this. What has amazed me the most about Texas Tech and Utah, and granted, we've seen a small sample size. Neither of these teams have had a very difficult start to the season, but it's how dominant they've been. Texas Tech has won their 3 games by a combined score of 174 to 35. Absolutely ridiculous. UAPB, Kent State, and then Oregon State last week. Utah has won their first 3 games by a combined score of 137 to 25. Beating UCLA, Cal Poly, and then Wyoming. So both these teams taking down a former Pac-12 member, Texas Tech over Oregon State, Utah over UCLA. Now it's time for the real test. Neither of these teams have been horribly battle-tested. This is a completely different animal, a completely different type of game that we're going to see on Saturday, and really going to tell us how good these teams truly are. Start with Texas Tech. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball. I love their offense. The Red Raiders have for many years had a very good offense, but this felt like the year they had to break through, right? As we know, they spent the most money in the transfer portal, over $10 million, get all these guys in there. This felt like the year they really had to break through under Joey McGuire, right? They're averaging over 600 yards per game in their 3 games they played, over 383 passing yards per game, led by Baron Morton, who has thrown for 923 yards, 11 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. This is a fast-moving offense. This is a very explosive offense. This is one that gets off to a very fast start. In the 3 games they've played, Texas Tech has won the first quarter by a combined score of 58-0. So in 3 games, they have 58 first quarter points and have not allowed a single point in the first quarter. That's going to be big here. Coming into a very tough road environment like Salt Lake City, you want to get off to a strong start. You want to silence the crowd. You want to set the tone early. And that's what Texas Tech needs to do offensively. Come out here and start strong just like they have for the first 3 weeks of the year. We talked about Morton. He's a phenomenal quarterback. And we hope he can stay healthy for the entirety of the year, because I do believe he's one of the better quarterbacks in the nation when he's fully healthy. This is also a dangerous running team. Texas Tech's averaging over 219 rushing yards per game. They have 3 players that have rushed for at least 100 yards, led by Adam Hill with 207 yards, 8.6 yards per carry, and Cameron Dickey, who has over 170 yards and 4 touchdowns on the year. Corey Eakin has been phenomenal at wide receiver. It's clearly been Morton's go-to guy, 245 reception yards already and 3 reception touchdowns. The question now, of course, is what do they look like against a good defense? UAPB, Kent State, and obviously a really bad Oregon State team is nothing to brag about. I mean, impressive stats, Texas Tech doing what they were supposed to do. But now they're facing a defense that's actually competent and knows what they're doing. So can the offensive line protect Morton throughout the entire game? Make sure he doesn't take any unnecessary hits. We saw him get kind of banged up in the season opener, got taken out of the game a little bit, was iffy for that Kent State game, came in, delivered, whatever. But can they perform well against an elite defense like Utah? We'll touch on that in a second. The Utes, on the other hand, man, look at them. This is the best offense they've had in a while. And obviously that's because for the last couple of years, is Cam Rising playing? Is Cam Rising not playing? We didn't know, right? So finally, Cam Rising's gone, and we put to bed the quarterback carousel and the quarterback questions for Utah, which I think every week kind of left the team in uncertainty, left the fans in uncertainty. Now they've got certainty at that position. When Jason Beck, the new offensive coordinator, came to Utah and brought with him Devin Dampier from New Mexico, that was a massive underrated pickup. Everybody looked at the stats and goes, well, is touchdown to interception ratio is 1-to-1. At New Mexico had like 12 touchdowns, 12 picks. He's not that good of a passer. It was his rushing stats that made him so dangerous. And clearly he's a much better passer than we've seen maybe at New Mexico. He's completing 73% of his passes this year for 628 yards and 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, has not turned the ball over. He's also Utah's leading rusher right now with 198 rushing yards and a touchdown, followed closely behind Wayshawn Parker with 192 yards and 2 touchdowns. So that's the danger of this Utah offense now. They've got competent quarterback play. They've got a quarterback that can run the ball effectively. He's quick. He's not just a guy who can scamper for 5 yards. He's a guy who can take it 40 yards to the house, right? The Utes averaging 517 yards per game, 290 rushing yards per game. Again, their sample size of teams is very similar to Texas Tech. UCLA is garbage. Cal Poly, Wyoming, there's nothing there that's like, wow, it's amazing. They beat a quality opponent. But still, impressive stats just like it is for the Red Raiders. The question now, like we mentioned for Texas Tech, is what does Utah do against a team that can match them offensively? What does Utah do against the best defense they've seen all season? Will Devin Dampier throw his first interception? Can he take good care of the football against this Texas Tech defense? If Texas Tech comes in here and limits his mobility and contains him to the pocket, can he win this game solely through the air? We've seen him look great against, again, mediocre or subpar defenses. The best one he's seen, will he deliver? Will he complete 70% of his passes? So that's going to be the million-dollar question is, if Texas Tech comes in here and takes away the running game, not just of him, but for Utah as a whole, can Utah win it through the air? Defensively, Texas Tech. And that's what we need to see from them, right? That's what they need to do. But what have they done defensively so far this year? Again, UAPB, Kent State, Oregon State, all terrible teams, all terrible offenses, and Texas Tech's done a phenomenal job. They have 9 sacks on the season, have forced 5 turnovers, and have forced 4 interceptions. So 4 of the 5 turnovers they forced have been through the air on interceptions, and that's big, right? It's going to be very telling to see if Dampier throws his first, if Texas Tech can force his first, or if he just kind of has their way against this secondary. The Red Raiders have only given up 41 rushing yards per game, only 188 passing yards per game, but again, very small sample size. Stats like these don't mean too much until you kind of get midway through conference play to see what these teams really, really look like. But as we just mentioned, force turnovers, get off the field more specifically. That's what Texas Tech has to do. The Utes, through 3 games, are converting on 72.7% of their third downs. 72, so almost 3 of every 4 third downs they're almost converting on, right? So Texas Tech has to find a way to make sure Devin Dampier on a 3rd and 4 doesn't scamper for a first down. They have to make sure they contain him to the pocket. They have to find a way to get him into 2nd, 3rd, and long situations where a long quarterback run for a first down is very unlikely. And they know he's going to have to throw the ball, which could result in an interception, right? Pressure the quarterback, contain him to the pocket, get off the field. Every time Texas Tech touches the ball, I believe this team can score. That's how good this offense is, right? So you're doing everything in your power to get the ball in Morton's hands as much as possible. Utah's probably going to look at this and go, hey, let's take some long, methodical drives, keep that offense off the field. If we can milk 5-6 minutes off the clock every time we touch the ball, that's going to be a good recipe for success. So that's what Texas Tech's got to do. Get off the field, don't allow them to convert on 3rd downs, get after Dampier and force him to beat you through the air. Utah, strong as always, right? The defense is always strong, has been year after year after year under Kyle Whittingham, right? They're very similar to Texas Tech. They also have 9 sacks. They also have 5 forced turnovers, including 4 interceptions. So those stats actually identical for the Red Raiders and the Utes. 9 sacks, 5 of those by John Henry Daly, by the way, which is absolutely insane 3 games into the year. This is a Utah defense that's typically strong versus the run, right? So I'm not horribly concerned about that. Obviously, the best running team they've seen all year. Texas Tech, a completely different team. Very strong up front. Obviously has talented backs. But Utah, rarely do you see a team go and just have their way against Utah in the trenches. Rarely do you see a team go in there and rush for 150, 160 on Utah. That really just doesn't happen. So if Utah sticks to their identity and that continues to hold true, this is going to be a game where I wonder if Utah's defense can shut down Morton, right? Texas Tech, fairly balanced offense. They want to throw the ball. They're great at throwing the ball. Why wouldn't you? You got great receivers. You've got a great quarterback. Can they deliver against this Utah secondary? Or conversely, can Utah secondary hold up against one of the best passing attacks they've seen, obviously this year, but maybe even as far back as last year? So that's kind of what I'm looking for here. Utah defensively, they've got to limit the big plays. They can't allow Texas Tech to get the home run balls. They can't allow Texas Tech to set the tone early. They cannot allow Texas Tech to just kind of have their way with them. To, as we mentioned, I believe they could score every time they touch the ball. Utah's defense obviously cannot allow that. So they've got to force them into some mistakes. They've got to force them into some third and long situations. Ones where you don't really have to account for Morton running the football, so you know he's going to throw it. You know, that's where Utah has an extra element, is that they have a dangerous dual threat quarterback that can do so much and that the Texas Tech defense has to respect and be prepared for. So again, I'm not saying Texas Tech won't have success running the ball. I think they're going to have better success than most people against Utah, but I still think that Utah front seven is one of the best in the nation and will bottle it up. So it really comes down to Utah secondary versus Texas Tech's passing attack. That's what it's going to boil down to at the end of the day. So what's going to happen? I mean, this is a really, really awesome matchup. To me, almost feels like a coin flip type of game, because I do believe Texas Tech is the real deal. But I also believe Utah's the real deal. I mean, you can't look at what happened to Utah last year, even the year before, and go, oh, they're not good. Because, again, they've been dealt a really bad hand with their quarterback situation. And keep in mind, despite the poor offenses that they've had, Kyle Whittingham has had this team competitive. I know last year they weren't as competitive as normal, but they had a lot of one-possession losses. They were very competitive in a lot of their games, even though they come out with wins. And they were doing that with no quarterback play. Now they've got it. I look at this game, guys. I said it's going to be close. I really do think it's going to be close. I think it's almost a toss-up game. But ultimately, I am going to side with Utah. I'm going to side with Utah. The Utes, for once, can actually keep up offensively. This isn't one of those games where it goes, if Utah wants to win, the defense is going to have to do everything. No, the offense actually can, I think, match Texas Tech step for step. I think Texas Tech owns the offensive edge, but it's not significantly. Utah, to me, owns the defensive edge. And maybe the most important thing, the Utes own the home field advantage edge. The Utes are 93-30 at home under Kyle Whittingham. Keep in mind, this is his 21st season in Salt Lake City. 21st season, and he's 93-30 at home. In the last 4 years, they're 21-5 at home. 4 of those losses came last year, again, with one of the worst teams they've had in a while, where they had no offense whatsoever. So take that season out of the equation, and it's like, what, 21-1 or 19-1, whatever it is in the last 3 years prior to 2024. I mean, this team plays extremely well at home. It's one of the most difficult places to play in the entire country. And I do believe the Utes will be up for the test. Give me Utah to win an absolute thriller in the early morning slot, 11 a.m. Central Time. That's how we're going to kick off our college football Saturday in Week 4. The Utes win a thriller and solidify themselves as, again, a true Big 12 title contender and absolutely a college football playoff contender as well. So, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com. Again, home to those expert picks, some of the best spread picks in the entire country. We guarantee it. It's been that way for the last 6 years. You do not want to miss out on it. Again, the link for it down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.